In this week's Parshas Pinchas, we meet the daughters of Tzolofchad, the famous daughters of Tzolofchad. The Chazal tell us about these daughters. They were Noshim Tzidkonia. It's because of the daughters of Tzolofchad we have the entire parsha of Yerusha, all the laws of inheritance, and they're called the parsha of Tzolofchad. The daughters of Tzolofchad. Who are the daughters of Tzolofchad? The 5 sisters who are the daughters of Tzolofchad, and they come and they say, our father died in the Midbar, and they weren't part of the group of Kairach. He wasn't part of the group of Kairach. He died because of his chet, because of his sin. He sinned, and therefore he died. And now we're worried we're going to lose our place in Eretz Yisrael. We want our rightful portion of Eretz Yisrael, just like our uncles and our cousins are going to get. We also want our portion of Eretz Yisrael. And Moshe Rabbeinu deals with this problem. He becomes to Hashem, and Hashem tells him what to do. And the entire story of who they're allowed to marry, who they're not allowed to marry, so that the inheritance stays and that they don't lose their place in Eretz Yisrael. But who is this Tzolofchad, this mysterious Tzolofchad, who died b'chetay, because of his sin? Gemara in Shabbos brings an interesting discussion between Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Akiva says, Tzolofchad was? He was the Mekayshish Eitzim. In the end of Parsha Shlach, we have the infamous Shabbos desecrator, the person who gathered wood. Either he chopped the wood, or he gathered the wood, or he carried it in Rosh Hashanah. He desecrated Shabbos publicly, and he was killed by Skila. He got the terrible punishment of Misas Bezdin. He was Tzolofchad. He was the one. That was Tzolofchad. That's what it means. He died with the sin. Rabbi Yehuda comes to Rabbi Akiva and says, Akiva, either you're right or you're wrong. Either he was or he wasn't. But even if you're right, that it was Tzolofchad, the Torah hides the fact because of such a terrible sin of being Mechal Shabbos b'Farhesia, and you want to tell everybody who he was. It's not proper to reveal a secret that the Torah itself wants to keep hidden. The Torah doesn't say that it was Tzolofchad. Okay, so who? And if you're wrong, and if one's Tzolofchad, then Kal V'chomer it was wrong for you to say that it was Tzolofchad. Okay, so who was Tzolofchad then? Which sin did he do? Says Rabbi Yehuda, he wasn't the one who desecrated Shabbos. He was from the Ma'apilim. Who are the Ma'apilim? The Ma'apilim is the group of Jews who, after Moshe Rabbeinu told them, they listened to the Mirag, they listened to the spies, and because of that, they got punished that they're going to be 40 years in the Midbar, and the entire generation is going to die. Right away, those 10 spies died in a terrible way. And then after that, the Jews tried to do tshuva. Vayivku, they cried, and they wanted to do tshuva. And then a group of them said, we're going to go, and we're going to go now to Eretz Yisrael. We're not going to wait to 40 years. And Moshe Rabbeinu says, no, you can't. It's finished. There's already a punishment. And they didn't listen to Moshe. Vayapilu la'alois ha'rosh ha'har. And the Amori and the Kanani that were on the top of the har completely desolated, completely destroyed that group and killed them out. And those are the Ma'apilim. Says Rabbi Yehuda, he wasn't the one who desecrated Shabbos, he was the Ma'apilim. Asked Tosfos, why is that any better? So he was a crazy fanatic who went on a suicidal mission to the top of the mountain when Moshe Rabbeinu told him not to go, and that's somehow better than telling him that he was a Mechal Shabbos. Tosfos says it wasn't the same level of sin as desecrating Shabbos publicly. Perhaps we can understand this a little better. We know that Rav Dessler and the Tel Zerov and Shirei Das, they speak about this, about the sins of the Dora Midbar. That the way we approach reading the Torah, we say, oh, he did this, they did that, they cried, they complained, they want to go back to Mitzrayim. We have to understand that each time we're talking about Kedoshei Elyon, we're talking about the people who left Mitzrayim, the Dor Deah, as they're called. They were on such a high intellectual level of understanding HaKadosh Baruch Hu and understanding His ways that we have no comparison at all to our lives and to the way we approach the stories that we read in the Midbar. One of the classic examples given is the story of the Ma'apilim. When we look at it in the first hand, when we first read the story in Parsha Shlach and in Parsha Dvarim, when it's repeated, we see a crazy group of suicidal fanatics. They came, Moshe Rabbeinu said, it's finished. The decree has been already passed. There's no way we can go to Eretz Yisrael. No, we're going. They gather their guns and their machine guns and their weapons, and they go, we're going to kill out the Kanani and the Mari. And Moshe Rabbeinu is telling them, don't go. Hashem is telling them, don't go. And they go anyway. The fanatical suicidal mission. It says the Or HaChaim HaKadosh in Parshas Dvarim, and there's a similar approach from the Sforno. And Rosh Hashiva used to say it's very important, Chaim Steins, that's how he used to say, it's very important to look at these words and to understand the words of the Or HaChaim HaKadosh. The Or HaChaim HaKadosh says in the Pasuk in Dvarim, where it says that they went Bezodan, they went because they went with B'mezid, they went on top of the mountain, says the Or HaChaim HaKadosh, they didn't do tshuva till the end. Very, very powerful words of the Or HaChaim HaKadosh. The Or HaChaim is telling us that there was a possibility of the Ma'apilim to succeed. It could be that they would have been able to succeed in the mission if they would have totally done tshuva. They didn't believe in Hashem when the Meraglim came. They didn't believe that Hashem could give them Eretz Yisrael. They sinned terribly in the lack of bitachon. If they would have done complete tshuva and really relied on HaKadosh Baruch Hu till the end, even after Moshe Rabbeinu telling them Hashem doesn't want you to go. But if they would have sat down and really come to the level of tshuva necessary to rectify the chet of the lack of bitachon, they would have succeeded at the top of the mountain. They would have killed out the Amori and the Kanani, and they would have gone straight all the way to Eretz Yisrael. Mapilim were very close to being successful. They were lacking a little bit in their kavanah. They were lacking in their tshuva. They didn't do tshuva till the end. They didn't do complete tshuva, and that's why they were not successful. The Sforno has a similar approach. The Sforno says that really they did tshuva, and they could have succeeded. But the problem was that they did what the Klal Yisrael did with the sin of the Meraglim was called the Chilul Hashem. It was a terrible desecration of Hashem's name. Hashem cannot take you into Eretz Yisrael. For such a sin, for Chilul Hashem, there's no kapara. Like the Gemara in Yuma says, for Chilul Hashem, the only kapara is Misa. There's no other way. And therefore they were not able to be successful. What we see from the approach, from the Arachaim or from the Sforno, the two different approaches, but the same idea. The Mapilim were not some fanatical, crazy group of suicide bombers. We're going to go to Eretz Yisrael, we're going to kill the Gnai. No. They were people who were very close to being successful. In the words of the Sforno, they would have been successful, except that it was a Chilul Hashem. There was a technical problem. Chilul Hashem does not have a kapara. In the words of the Arachaim HaKadosh, if they would have done tshuva a little more, they would have been successful. Even for the sin of Chilul Hashem, they could have succeeded. They would have been a little bit more. That's what Rabbi Yehuda is saying. Akiva, he was not. We're not talking about a person who just was Mechal Shabbos B'Farasya. Even the Chilul Shabbos, the Mefarshim say, and the Mefarshim in the Gemara and the Chumash, that even the Chilul Shabbos was done with L'Shem Shemayim. We wanted to show how. But even taking all that into account, he was not a Mechal Shabbos. He was somebody who was a very close to being a big tzaddik. The Mapilim were big tzaddikim. They were great people. They did a little bit of a mistake. Very important when we're approaching the entire Sefer of Bamidbar, and especially this parsha of the Mapilim. It's only one example of all the sins, as Rav Dessler and the tells Rav Wright, all the sins of the chet of the Midbar, of the Dar Midbar. They were great people, and we have to understand them on their level. This has been a short thought on Parshas Pinchas.